what's going on, y'all? T-Bob here.
And Jake as well.
And you're about to watch a little OTB LSU.
We're going to give you all the latest, greatest between LSU football, baseball, women's basketball, softball, and everything in between.
Bottom line, if you want to talk Tigers, keep it locked, subscribe, like it, and we hope you enjoy it. Even though it's no longer Nick Saban, here you sit with a Monday post-first week of November feeling that is all too similar. Your season coming to a head against the Alabama Crimson Tide, and you not just losing, but laying an absolute egg. You got your butt kicked this weekend in every single way. And in fact, it's one of those games, Jake, there's the old saying, it's never as good as you think it is. It's never as bad as you think it is. Rewatching this film made me realize, no, it actually was worse than I thought it was. Dominated physically, dominated mentally, dominated from a game planning standpoint, from an execution standpoint. This was as embarrassing of a loss and as frustrating of a loss as you will have as a player, coach, or fan. And now it means that not only that you put Alabama over, and now they're feeling good, and they're rolling, and maybe going to make the college football playoff, but you are eliminated, and you have to try to pick up the pieces, show some resilience, and figure out what in the hell has gone so wrong these last 6 quarters of football, and can you fix it and avoid collapsing down the stretch? It just hurts, man. It hurts, and unfortunately, it's a script that is all too familiar, as I said. Jake, what's going on, man? How you doing today?
Yeah, doing good. Weekend didn't go like any of us wanted to, and we'll break it down from every angle. And like you said, obviously there's moments in that game that changed a lot in that game, and we'll point to all of those. We'll talk about game plans. We'll talk about, coming off a bye week, all those situations, what you have left. It's not going to just be easy victories. You got to go on the road to Florida this week. And so, yeah, the playoff is not right now, something that you can achieve, but doesn't mean you can pack it in. So a lot to kind of get to here this week for what LSU did last week and then what they have left on their schedule.
Yeah, look, it's not that the playoff is not this week something you could – the playoff is done. The playoff is done, right? I mean, that's 1,000% done. But that doesn't matter. I mean, again – what sort of resiliency are you going to show? What sort of team are you going to be? And I think, and we'll get to these kind of larger 1,000-foot view conversations, but I do think it's especially important for the Kelly era to prove to have that resilience and figure out a way to finish this season strong and overcome 2 losses in a row and what has been just a god-awful 6 quarters of football in a row. I'm going to say what I feel I saw on film here. I think you saw an Alabama team that, quite frankly, looked bigger, faster, and stronger than you. And we kind of knew this was the case coming in, right? The tagline that I created was, I think Alabama's the better collection of players, but I think you're like the better team. Well, I don't think that ended up being the case at all. I think they looked bigger, stronger, faster, and I think you got out-coached from a scheme standpoint and from an execution standpoint. I felt like Alabama players were put in great positions to succeed on both sides of the ball. You were not, and so when you combine that with the talent advantage, you kind of get what you witnessed. I also think you have a quarterback in Garrett Nussmeier who, a lot of times you go the way the team does of the quarterback. You have a quarterback that's going through it a bit right now. You can see doubt creeping in, kind of hitching or hesitating on throws that he was ripping in the past. Even your short stuff, your quick hitters, when you're trying to run screens like they were, little swing passes and whatnot, throws a little behind, throws a little here, throws a little there. And yet, despite all of this, it was still 14-6 late in the second quarter, and the defense comes up with a turnover on downs, and you have the ball in your own 40, great field position, 3:37 left in the half. You get the ball after halftime. You are perfectly set up to have a 2-for-1. And this is your offense, right? Like the other thing we talked about before the game was I think the defense could play well enough to set you up. But look, the offense is the strength of your team. Top 5 group in the entire country the majority of the year. The defense could set you up. The offense would have to win you the game. And so although the offense have been awful by this point, it's still 14-6, 3 minutes left. You're going to get 2 possessions in a row. The strength of your team was set up. And then what do? Critical error, awful pass pro, bad ball security, fumble. 2 plays later, it's 21-6. And in my personal opinion, even though we can get into the second half drive, that was the game right there at that moment. And it's indicative of all these large mistakes that were made throughout the game. There's that turnover. There's the pick in the drive to start the second half. There's the face mask when it looks like after that pick, you're going to go 3 and out, and then they end up scoring and make it 28-6. It's time and time again, mistake after mistake after mistake. And you're just, again, when you're playing a team as good as Alabama, that is a recipe that begets the disaster that you saw on Saturday night.
Yeah, there's a lot of moments, certainly, and you've laid out some of those where you had an opportunity and the game was still a game, and the game wasn't out of hand, and you didn't take advantage of any of them. Like, not some of them, like any of them. You didn't take advantage of any of the moments that you had, and the defense did get off the field. And then when you immediately give it back to them, that's just too much sudden change.
Yeah.
Think of the emotion that it takes to, get them off the field, 4th down stop. You're using everything that you have within that moment. And then 1 play later, after you're barely putting your butt on the bench, it's like, no, get right back up because you got to go right back onto the field. And I'm still not sure what in the world was going on in the protection there. You got DJ Chester patrolling the area and not touching
the worst
anybody.
Visual of all time. You got the airplane arms. You never want airplane arms, young lineman, okay? Just sitting there flying while somebody's rolling right by you. I mean, they obviously called Mike left, but I don't understand what is so in the protection that there was nobody. Like, how was he not accounted for?
Yeah.
In some way. It's unbelievable. I don't know.
Yeah, and even, in your count, if you're still going, Mike to the left, like you still, like if nobody's threatening you got to be able to work your way back. You don't do that. And then, Nuss has poor ball security in that moment. Like the rollout left thing that he does, like that just, it doesn't work in the SEC. People are just too fast. I know he got it one time and he was able to escape and make a play. That's really tough to do. It's just not, it's not a recipe for success. No plan for cover 0. That was shocking as well. Kane Womack threw it at you about, I think I charted 8, maybe 9 times.
Just manipulating you into swing passes. They're in these short hitters that they're completely ready for every single time.
Yeah, and those swing passes didn't do anything all night. There was 2 that, running back's lucky that he didn't have to come off the field.
Yeah,
I mean, for a concussion. I mean, those were, as soon as the running back's hands touched the ball, you had a Bama defender right there. So, like, those are the surprising things, were some of the things that Alabama did. It was a good game plan, but you never made the adjustment to their adjustment from the bye week. Like, and I heard, I think you were talking on something, I saw AA Muggs, and that's what they did. And then they played cover 0 off of it sometimes. Sometimes they dropped those guys, and they did it consistently. And if you come out of a game and they hadn't really done that. But we talked about it last week. Like, expect something like that.
You knew they were going to target Mbinga. Why would you not?
Yeah, and
it's a glaring Achilles heel of a weakness going from Garrett Dellinger to Mbinga,
yeah,
and you felt it.
And his pass protection was incredibly poor throughout the game.
Yeah,
and
run blocking. It's not even on him. It's just it's a weakness that you, like Jake said, you should have been. Ideally, I don't know. Maybe you just can't. Like, it was such an obvious weakness they were going to try to exploit, and you did not look prepared to handle how they exploited it.
Yeah, and they showed it in the first half. I'm talking about, AA Mug and cover 0. And, cover 0, you're going to have man across the board. If you pick it up, you're going to have opportunities, and just never made an adjustment from the first half when they showed it to the second half when they still were running it against you. And so, I mean, it was a game where it looked like one team for 2 weeks prepared, and then one team didn't have anything ready to go. And then certainly once they figured out what it was, because anytime you play Alabama and however long they've been doing the bye week before it, you're going to see something you haven't seen. It's like, okay, well, how fast can you react to that thing? And Alabama did it incredibly fast, and you never did.
It's again, it's for what has been, I think, on the whole, a really fantastic year for this coaching staff. I feel like they've been kind of in the majority of situations. I feel like they've damn near maximized what this team is capable of. But if nothing else, they've made good adjustments. They put their players in pretty good position to succeed. As dominated as you got physically in this game in a lot of ways, the coaches got just as dominated in a game planning and adjustment standpoint. And that is sorely disappointing given that so much kind of narrative was riding on Kalen DeBoer versus Brian Kelly, right? We are here in the post-Saban era. It's their first matchup in that era. 2 weeks to prepare. Who will come out and look better and look more locked in? And it wasn't even particularly close. Wow, Jake, what incredible takes.
I mean, those guys, they're just the best.
I think so. And if you think so, again, hit the like button, subscribe, ring the bell so you get notifications when we post every single day here on OTB LSU.